everyone. F's in the chat. So have you heard about the archaeology skill? Yes, you have. It has been the worst kept secret of 2019, but the joy is that there's so much more that you don't know, which is great. And that's because it's so much more than a skill. On one hand, it's a gathering skill, like your fishing and woodcutting, getting your knees dirty to gather puzzle pieces of our past from the God Wars or the Zaros Empire and more. But on the other hand, archaeology is actually a manufacturing skill, like your fletchings and smithings, putting artifacts back together to create treasures that have so many uses. Okay, we're going to need more hands. Archaeology is also 5 new areas waiting for you to delve into, including subterranean Al-Kharid, the far-flung reaches of Mauritania, and below the wilderness. And archaeology is also swathes of rewards. We're talking about 3 new genres of reward that's going to mix up play, particularly for higher level players. Okay, let's get started. Let's jump in to the gathering side of the skill, excavating. Okay, so unless you're a Wikipedia whiz or an archaeology major, you don't know that this is a mattock, which is the humble pickaxe, if you will, of archaeology. You'll get that joy of progressing through the mattocks as you level, similar to mining. Note the crystal mattock, the incando mattock, and the mattock of space and time. So you're probably thinking about how you'll get these. It's with these that you gain your first archaeology XP. You'll find excavation hotspots at dig sites, uncover and keep materials from lost ages, and get those dusty gains. How will it feel? So there's a smidge of the mining rework to it. There's no competition, but you are all in the same place as each other. And occasionally, excavation sites will become extra worthwhile, highlighted by time sprites in similar ways to Rocketunities, which is always a terrible name, and I'm sorry for calling it that. But while you're going to be spending a decent amount of time gathering, the real fun comes from these. And this is the manufacturing side, artifacts. Occasionally, as you excavate, you will find damaged artifacts. And what you see here is 1/5 of what you'll be able to find. And these artifacts are the real treasures of the past, things of significance from lost ages. They'll be broken when you find them, and it's up to you to restore them. And this is where the materials from the gathering part of the skill really help. You'll require certain materials for each artifact, and they're tradable, which makes swapping with other players for that last material at a dig site a real highlight. But fixing an artifact is the lion's share of the XP. You'll get a gigantic chunk when you're done. But what do you do with them once they are done? Well, welcome to the newly refurbished dig site in Varrock for the 2nd time this year. Well, they'll make that choice regularly. And this is a part of the skill I really love. I really love the sorting element, where you're trying to decide whether or not to keep something or contribute it to something else. Because you can hand it to a collector, perhaps, including some of the most famous characters in the game, Wise Old Man, Bent-Nose and Wartface, for some of the best rewards in the skill. Or does it belong in a museum, where they'll give you chronotes, which are a new currency for archaeology that can be exchanged for kick-ass rewards? Or do you keep the item for yourself, particularly if it may have a future benefit for you? And that's not even scratching the surface of what you can do here. You can build a research team, again from some well-known characters who will discover new ways for you to train. You can also start getting your qualifications in archaeology, completing feats from across the skill to give you access to even more stuff. And as you master each of the dig sites in the game, they will come with a central mystery to be resolved. So there's a huge story component to archaeology. Dig sites. So this is where the skill really starts showing its teeth. As much as you might want to be scrubbing up bones, finding a series of small walls with tiny brushes, sometimes you just want to raid a tomb, explore the uncharted, or go on a last crusade. So to talk about these dig sites, I'd like to bring onto the stage someone who has been working on this for about 18 months, who's been pitching it closer to 3 years, our part-time tour guide, Mod Timbo.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Timbo's Tours. And this afternoon, I will be your guide on a tour of archaeology. Today, you'll get the chance to see some of the awesome sites and a taster of what you'll be able to get your hands on. Let's head first to the Caridian Desert for our first stop of Caridet. Found near to the Gielinor, this ancient fortress and stronghold once housed Zaros' armies and fell to the ongoing onslaught of Zamorakian forces during the God Wars. Previously thought lost to all Zarosian allies, this excavation site's manager, a certain Dr. Nabanik, knows different. Unlocked at level 5 archaeology after completion of your first qualification, this is where your journey begins through the skill. Do not fret, however, this is not an excavation site just for interns. Hidden in the deep vaults, you'll excavate Zarosian weapons, opulent religious pieces relating to Zaros himself, and unearth scrolls relating to ancient magics. Our next stop takes us to the eastern coast of Mauritania, where some of our more eagle-eyed tourists have already seen this in the volcano. We now know modern Mauritania to be dark and full of blood-sucking terrors, but this was once a Saurodominus stronghold, and the jewel of that was the Iceni settlement of Everlight. Thank you. At its heart was Everlight itself, a towering lighthouse which illuminated the coast and provided much-needed light to the Iceni who once lived here. In recent times, the light has dimmed since the settlement was sacked, and Vanescula, the excavation site manager, has tasked the player to extinguish it so that she can get some more much-needed beauty sleep. This is one of the sites which unlocks at level 20, and here you'll be excavating Icenic cultural items, discovering more about the Dominion games, and learning about how this once great landmass fell into the islands we now know. Next up, deep below the wilderness, under the scar left by the Sword of Edicts thrust into the ground by Guthix, lies the infernal source. Not much is known about the fiery rings of brimstone other than they will have a demonic connection to Zamorak, and it deserved to be struck by Guthix in order to shut it down. Here, also starting at level 20 archaeology, you'll be excavating Zamorakian cult relics, delving deeper into Zamorak's cult connection with demons, and learning more about how demons were brought to Gielinor. Now, we've had a tour of 3 excavation sites of Caradet, Everlight, and the Infernal Source. It's time to talk about 2 more sites for which Timbo Tours haven't quite sent out expeditions to quite yet. We can't take a look and see what's going on there right now, but I can give you some quick teasers and their names. Stormguard Citadel and the Warforge. Now, it's time to ditch the binoculars for sightseeing and head down to the real meat of the tour, and what you all want to hear about, the rewards. What treats lie in store for intrepid archaeologists who excavate and restore artifacts from the past, you might ask? Well, let's get started talking about ancient summoning. Deep in the heart of the infernal source, after discovering the secrets and unearthing its treasures, you will learn how to bind the will of powerful demons to you through the summoning skill. Using a binding contract forged with new materials found in the infernal source, with your usual charms, of course, you'll be able to bind existing demonic slayer creatures and summon them with all of their own unique effects. I don't have the full itinerary written down here for the tour, but I do have a few sneak peeks. First up, we have the Ripper Demon. The Ripper Demon's passive effect will be to deal more damage to its target for how much health it has. And its scroll effect will be to replicate the Ripper Demon's death jump attack. Next up, we have the Abyssal Demon. The Abyssal Demon will automatically teleport to its target to deal damage, and its active scroll effect will be to teleblock and bind your current target. Lastly, we have the Calgarian Demon. The Calgarian Demon will be the most powerful summoning familiar in terms of combat stats up to date, and its active scroll effect will be to provide you, itself, and nearby friendly players a critical strike buff temporarily. Now, we often look back to our history and often think they're not as technologically advanced as we are right now. However, that is not the case in Gielinor. By discovering the teachings and blueprints of Gielinor's own Da Vinci, you will be able to create brand new devices and perks using materials found disassembling artifacts and materials excavating during archaeology. First up, we have the Ancient Gizmo. Covering all 3 different types of gizmos, such as weapon, tool, and armor, you'll need to use ancient gizmos in order to obtain the new perks from archaeology materials. That's not all, however. All 9 slots in the Ancient Gizmo will be unlocked, allowing you to experiment further and find perk combinations and ranks previously undiscovered. Next up, we have the XP capacitor. If you've ever wanted to level up your augmented items faster, to either siphon them or to get those juicy level 20 benefits, then this is the device for you. An empty XP capacitor takes some of the item XP you would normally earn from your augmented items and instead siphons it into the capacitor. Once the device is full, it can be traded to other players, and they will earn double item experience until the capacitor runs dry. It's like bonus XP, but for your invention items. Another device unearthed from the past is the kinetic dynamo. Not content with just using Guthix juice to power up your invention needs, the kinetic dynamo will be able to create divine charges by simply running around or surging. Once you've done enough running around with the kinetic dynamo, it will charge up, spit out divine charges, and then break. The final thing to talk about for Ancient Invention today is the ability to further enhance invention-created tools like the Fishermatic, Hammertron, and Pyromatic. Using the materials found from the past, you've discovered ways to make the tools more efficient and act like level 80 tools instead of level 72 tools they act right now. Let's move on to the real jewel of our tour today and what we are calling relics. Powerful items from RuneScape history have been rediscovered, and it's up to you to find and harness their powers. In doing so, you will earn permanent, powerful, passive effects which are always active. You'll be able to choose up to 3 of these relic powers and pay chronos in order to change and choose between them. These relic powers are incredible, and here are just 2 of the 20+ effects we will have at release for you to get your hands on. First up, we have what we are calling the Abyssal Link, which allows you to cast teleportation spells without casting runes. However, the spells no longer give XP. And the second one to talk about is what we are calling Slayer Introspection. When you are assigned a Slayer task, you'll be able to choose between either the maximum or minimum amount of creatures you want to kill. One last thing. During your time excavating the once lost wonders of the world, you'll come across some powerful artifact weapons, which you can restore even further to become exceptional weapons. If you look now behind me, you can spot one of them, which we are calling the Spear of Annihilation. Alas, my section of the tour is over. Thank you for traveling on Timbo Tours today, but now it is time to hand back to our expedition leader, Mod Osborne.
Bless you, Timboface. OK, this is the bit where I get to completely steal all of the mic drops from the archaeology team and do them myself. So first off the bat, is this an elite skill? Does it go up to 120? OK, this is not an elite skill. This is a skill that everyone can play as soon as it drops. And I can reveal that archaeology will be going up to 120 on launch. As you can see from everything we've talked about, we've spent a large amount of time, love, sweaty buttocks and dirty mattocks, and packing this skill to the rafters. And more content will be dropping into the skill over the year and beyond. It's worth noting there will be an embargo on all lamps, stars, bonus XP, double XP, and other skill boosts until 6 months after the skill launches. We also wanted to remove the barriers from experiencing it. So we'll be raising the skill cap from 5 to 20 for free-to-play, giving everyone the Caridet dig site to rummage around in. And if this goes well, then we'll look to do that with other skills. Oh, and I wanted you all to meet the skill pet. OK, RuneFest, I would like you to meet Archie. It's a child mummy, which is odd to say, but he can be rude and impatient. Of course, he will act as an override for your familiars, which is when you really get to see him at his best. Go on, Archie. There we go, looking cool. Now, for many of you, this will be the ultimate prize. Or perhaps you'll be shooting for the Master Skill Cape beyond this. We'll keep the perks under wraps for now, mainly because you won't have the context of whether or not they're good. But the skill icon may well change up to launch, so please do give us feedback. But there's something about that black and white that I find pretty slick. OK, and I think it will look great with one of these, which is the Archaeology Elite Skilling Outfit. Now, this is coming out on launch of the skill and is entirely gained from archaeology. This will use something other than the fragment system for you to that you may be used to, so you'll have to do some very specific things to gain it. I won't tell you now, but do get the archaeology team drunk later to find out. Okay, now for the doozy, the release date. Okay, you can see the development is hugely progressed. You'll have played the demo in the volcano, at least if you're here and not watching on the stream. You'll be playing Archaeology and all 5 of its dig sites, Ancient Invention, Ancient Summoning, Relics, and more in January 2020. Okay. Prepare to get a whole lot of sand in your crevices. Thank you very much.
Ah, a nice fire pit. Time for some storytelling, I think. Now, all stories have villains and heroes, and sometimes it's hard to know who's who, but that's the joy in stories. Like Sliske, promising the world and capturing enemies, defying gods, but then the ultimate act of villainy, throwing the world into chaos for a climactic prize. All a smokescreen, of course. He sought the artefacts left by the mothers of this world that turned him from near mortal to near God. But they weren't enough. Our hero, you, the world guardian, with 1,000,000 faces, voices, and choices, drove the siphon through Sliske. But there are those beyond the veil of hero or villain. When one has achieved everything, what is there left to do? To create, perhaps, and achieve perfection through that creation. Like Jas, rudely woken by her greatest work, Gielinor. Like some sort of epic second account with a horrible virus. And that virus is life. Because for the elder gods, life is but a whimsy. An unexpected twist in the thread, in a tapestry, eons in the making, one that's easily unraveled. So she appeared and scolded her children. Perhaps, though, she was hasty. Perhaps the fleas on the back of her child were worth more than her sisters had thought. So she gave them a chance to prove themselves more than just a parasite. But how could a maggot prove its worth to a lion? Such things are not impossible. Seren knew the beauty of life. She would stand against the tide because she could not do so alone. And nor did she want to, for she knew that gods should not define the path of mortals. So she assembled a council. Each demanded to be heard. Each grew louder as they outbid each other, as if trying to shatter the hands that drew them together. Children can never agree. Even the words of the world guardian only fueled the fire. So she failed. But out of the chaos, a new hero stepped forward, drawing the crowd to a silence. Kerapak, the dragonkin, thought foe by many, had a plan to extend the slumber of the mothers. After all, what mother doesn't want more sleep? And so a team was built. Karos, the world guardian, Kerapak, and Thok. Kerapak's plan to corrupt the needle, to tune it to the will of mortals, was a strong plan. But time plays tricks on all of us. The needle exposed Kerapak's true purpose, destruction, maddened with vengeance. But it was too late. He drew the needle's power into himself, a bright blaze of blue with wings beating. The air tore around them, and he was gone. He didn't want them appeased. He didn't want them asleep. He wanted them dead, no matter the cost. And he flew east to an island of many, many names, and he threw it into an impassable storm. But that's the problem with storms. It's a real bugger to keep fires lit. Now, we need stories to remind us of our past, where we've come from and where we must go. But the greatest stories are yet to be told. Orthan, the first home of the Dragonkin on Gielinor. Many ages ago, great scientists they were, both with runes and with metal. Huge devices they built. Some found new life, not creating it, but twisting it into their image. Some were built to attack the mothers themselves, using forces they could not understand. But machines cannot live forever, rusted and seized by the rigors of time. But for one that can control time, it is but a trifle to overcome. Hannibus, master of dragons, one who can speak to the reptiles, the lizards, even the ancient dinosaurs of this land. He'll be needed to navigate this island, to scout it out, to discover its secrets. Now our future. Now I started by talking about heroes and villains and the thin line between them. Take the King Black Dragon, for example. Is he a hero or a villain? What do you guys think? Both? Well, it depends, right, on whose eyes you've got. Villainous, no doubt, to those of us who went after a dragon medium helmet back in the day. Man, he kicked my ass so many times. But a hero to Hannibus, no doubt, taking him through the skies, turning his enemies to a crisp. Perhaps these dinosaurs can be heroes too. To look through their eyes, oh, what sights they must have seen. But they're untamed. Their motivations are primal, territorial. And I'm sure they're not that happy about their home being invaded, hunted and slayed for the past few months. They're bound to be trouble. And all the while, Kerapak, laughing deep in his volcano lair. I mean, if he had a fluffy cat to stroke, he'd basically be a Bond villain. Plotting with his contraptions, the ones that you helped to get him back. Time to crack some eggs, he thinks. Time to crack some elder eggs. And if the mothers find out what's going on, they will try and stop him, to strike first. And oh, what a strike that would be, to see those majestic arms rise up and shatter the land. But mothers are not known for their subtlety. Their artifacts were the tools to sculpt, to carve the mountains, to shape the sky. No, without those, her strike would be clumsy. 1,000 lights would blink out in an instant. Seas would boil with blood. Catastrophe. You must be her tools. Now, having a time-traveling device on Gielinor isn't a new thing. If you go back to 2005, we made history, and in 2008, we met history with Enchanted Key. But both of those, kicking about in some random outpost outside of Ardoin, and even that cool volcano lair that Karapak's got, well, it's unlikely to be top of your ancient places I'd most like to explore list. So what would that be? Where would you guys want to go? Any ideas? Huh? Or classic? That would be brave. Well, how about somewhere talked about in the history books? Explored by the first player archaeologists, unearthing an ancient talisman back in 2003. How about Senntisten itself? The greatest city in Gielinor. The jewel in Zaros' crown. A village before his arrival with 1,000 demons at his call. They could do little to resist him. He conquered all, his city growing in power, its towering statues and golden streets teeming with life, from infernal imp to dazzling dragon. Such a magnificent sight would attract attention, though. Many, many gods would seek that prize, like Zamorak, the betrayer, who moved in like a serpent. Or Saradomin, whose ambitions were so great, he flattened the city and rebuilt it, and moved in with his unlikely allies of Bandos the Warmonger and Armadil the Lord of Justice, until all the gods were cast out. And when they came back, well, it was hardly a duel anymore. They had other things to worry about than where to nest. Well, not quite all of them. Now, we started this tale with heroes, villains, and family, about our children being our greatest treasure. But children are ambitious. Mars' children more than most. And all threads in that tapestry eventually lead back to him, to Zaros. His ambitions are the greatest, to become an elder god himself, because he sees it as his birthright. But sometimes a good parent must just say no. Now, I'm not really sure I've ever met a child who accepted that, though. Most children will sneak behind their parents' back, sticking to the shadows. Fun at the time, but a nightmare if you're caught, because playing with shadows will always come back to haunt you. But imagine, if you will, creeping through those layers of Senntisten, layers of a delicious historical sandwich, unearthing the bounty from each age of occupation. Imagine the secrets that lie within and the terrors that were left there to rot. And with no risk, there's no reward. Worth a shot, heroes? I expect so. I think now my time is coming to an end. It sounds like the dinos are back, so I better make my exit. I really wanted to tell you about the big finale, the dungeon, but maybe next time you'll tell me, maybe I'll tell you. Bye.
Hello, my delicious sweet potatoes. Granny here, and here to tell you about a marvelous new development opportunity that's come my way. See, the boffins over the museum have discovered this enormous, bloody great island filled with lots and lots of fertile land that needs a granny's touch. That's right, my dears. It's time for the Potterington brand to expand into new real estate. Which means, my dears, you and I are going to build a farm on this great big island. Yes. We've got this lovely little island just off the coast of Anachronia. You've probably seen it. It's a beautiful spot for us to build some paddocks on it. So between us, by which I mean mostly you, bad back, you know, we are going to add 5 entirely new pens, 2 large, 1 medium, 1 small, and 1 carefully reinforced breeding pen. But we're not just raising sheep and cows anymore. Oh, no, dears, no. We're going to expand our agricultural ambitions, and we're going to focus our attention on raising great big reptiles. With 14 entirely new species to raise on the farm. We've got frogs. These poisonous blighters should be quite useful. And we've got salamanders, because who doesn't love a lizard that can spit fire? And we've got jadinkos, because Papa Mambo's been giving me some tips. And we've got apopterosaurs. Fortunately, these ones are quite dumb, and they've not realized they can just fly away. Don't tell them. We've got these absolute units. Look at the muscles on them. And we've got enormous bloody great death dinosaurs. You'll be able to raise each of these in the new pens on Dinosaur Island. Only those pens, mind, they shouldn't be left around the sheep. You can raise them, feed them, breed them, harvest them. All the features of the farm, but now with scales. They'll have some truly unique harvestable resources from these beauties. But wait, there's more! I obviously can't be in two places at once, so I've sent over someone to help you out. My own great-granny, or prehistoric Potterington, will be there to help you out. And she'll be joined by these adorable baby dinosaurs that are so cute, you'll barely remember that they'll happily disembowel you and eat your flesh. Oh, how sweet. You'll need to build this farm yourself using the resources you've already been gathering on the island. And you'll have to find the animals by hunting down the great big lizards, catching them in traps, and generally mass murdering their parents. You know, the usual. All your boosts, such as multiple traits and improved shiny chances, will carry over from the existing farm. It's going to be quite the opportunity, dears. Why, with this new farm and all these lovely ingredients, you could make some very special stuff. I mean, the possibilities. Whatever we'll be able to do with all of these things.
Oh, for God's sake. What is it with you and this bloody LARPing? Mod Raven, everybody. Hi. So, a little while ago, we mentioned that we would be expanding 2 existing skills to level 120. Well, now that Mod Raven, technically Granny Potterington, has introduced the Ranch Out of Time, we can probably assume that one of those skills is farming. However, we're also happy to reveal that alongside appropriately powerful rewards, we'll be raising the Herblore skill to 120 as well. But don't worry, we'll talk about that in a little while because farming is definitely not done. So, first of all, we'll be converting Manor Farm into the official farming guild. That will be released alongside reputation and rewards and stuff, as you can probably imagine. And we'll be adding an entirely new training method in which you can help out noob farmers with their own small startup farms by giving them all of the supplies that they need. They will come and visit you at the farming guild and ask all of you master farmers for your help. And because it's the farming hub, you're going to be able to build a new invention machine that lets you view all of your patches from the guild without having to use the remote farming spell each time. For something a little weirder, a little strange, but still extremely helpful, we're going to be adding an unlockable bloodwood tree patch as well. This will be at the guild in a much safer, convenient place than the other bloodwood tree patches. Also, as a bonus, we've also added a 4th unlockable spirit tree patch as well, just to enhance that teleport network. Okay, we think it's time for some new crops, something to grow other than dragons and dinosaurs. So we've added dragon fruit. Technically, these are a type of cactus, by the way. So we've also added an additional 3rd craftable, constructible cactus patch on the island of Anachronia in which you can grow them in. That's not all. In fact, we've added a whole manner of new produce to grow. For example, these high-level mushrooms. We're adding carambola, chiku, and guarana fruit trees. We're adding mangoes, avocados, and lychee fruit bushes as well. And if that wasn't enough, you'll be able to plant a money tree in the farming guild. That's if you're lucky enough to find the seeds, by the way. All right, obviously, we're adding a new emote and 2 impactful master farming perks. These help you with growing crops and help you raise the animals and dinosaurs on your farm. All of this means that we're adding a ton of farming produce, as well as having recently added the Arbuck herb with the Anachronia update. So let's talk herblore. All of the stuff that you'll be farming will be used to make this new base ingredient called primal extract. This opens the door to some of Gielinor's pretty powerful and potent potion recipes. Let's take a quick look at them. Obviously, we've added a new tier of weapon poison. We've combined prayer and summoning pots into one. There we go. And this next one is a player suggestion after we reached out on Twitter a little while ago. It's called the Charming Potion. While active, you can gather summoning charms at double the rate that you normally would through both combat and skilling. OK, next. Let's introduce you to the Potion of Harvest. This is a weird one, this. While under the effects of this potion, your regular allotment produce will mutate into mega awesome crops. We're talking golden watermelons, rainbow sweet corn, and cannonball cabbages. These mega crops, alongside all of the meat from Big Game Hunter, that you probably have quite a lot of now, can be used as ingredients to make the new ultimate best-in-slot food, the Primal Feast. This can be unpacked into multiple portions in your inventory whenever you wish, which means that its healing potential per inventory slot is absolutely huge. Right, now that we've covered food, how about prayer? Well, obviously we're going to be making extreme prayer potions. Duh. However, there's also this little thing, the Blessed Flask. This flask is quite time-consuming to make, think masterwork, but once you have one, you'll be able to charge it with tons of extreme prayer potions. Bring it with you, and you'll have prayer points for days. OK, a quick curveball now. This is an adrenaline crystal. This isn't new. Right, it's not. But we'll be adding drops to PVM and Slayer drop tables, which you can convert into adrenaline crystals if you have a high enough Herblore level. I can tell a few of you will be happy about that. OK, so far, I hope this hasn't been information overload. Introducing the Elder Overload. This boosts your combat stats by 17% plus 5, as you probably expected. And finally, we have two entirely new genres of potion. First up, we have powerbursts. They can double your health pool. They can make you extremely fast with unlimited surge charges. Basically, they give you crazy powerful effects for a short burst of time. And something we're particularly excited about, craftable bombs. OK. These are an entirely new content, combat mechanic. You'll be able to launch poison bombs, sticky bombs, and vulnerability bombs at whichever unfortunate victims and areas you choose. These area effects linger for a short while, so any unfortunate enemies that fall prey to them will be affected by the effect while they're active. OK, here's the Master Herblore perk, which directly assists the production of overloads. Right, why farming and Herblore? You might be thinking. Both skills have a significant amount of content from 1 to 99, and Herblore is in fact completely stacked at the higher levels. But also farming is one of our most popular skills, especially with the introduction of player-owned farm last year. But more importantly, these two skills enhance and supplement each other as a pair, which means that it's much smoother for us to design a fulfilling experience for you. As a development team, we feel that a number of criteria really needed to be met before that we were comfortable updating those two skills to 120. So let me just reel these off. We think it's important to have valuable content and unlocks at every new level. We also want worthwhile goals and milestones to aim for, obviously. We want the journey to not feel like a complete grind, which means fair XP rates and a variety of training methods and mechanics. And finally, it's extremely important to add a complete chonker of a grace period for comp and trim players. Something like 6 or 9 months. What's all this smoke? What? Oh, God. OK, I need to get off the stage.
creators. You know them as the Elder Gods. You may think them united, but they are not. You may think they speak with one voice, but they do not. At the dawn of this universe, there was no life save for them. But there was still conflict. That conflict will come again.
Alas, we are approaching the end. Hopefully there's been something revealed so far that has wet your whistle a wee bit, but let's have a quick recap so you can have a bit of context. Have a quick context of when things are coming out and what to expect. Previously on RuneFest. Well, we have the Archaeology skill coming in January 2020, which gives us a nice little point for all the other updates to cuddle around. Okay. Next, we can put the mega trinity of updates that are all coming on the same day in November. Ranch Out of Time, Farming to 120, and Herblore to 120. These are 3 large updates that all feed each other. The Ranch pushing Farming to 120 alongside new patches, and then the Ranch handing us Primal Extract, a resource essential for all the new potions, bombs, powerbust, and more that fill up Herblore to 120. In summer 2020, we have the small matter of the Elder God Wars dungeon. So while it is admittedly a little far off, we're about to start development, we've already had design meetings, and we're all getting a little bit excited. Okay, what next? Well, we have the storyline that will be building up towards the Elder God Wars dungeon. There'll be a number of quests next year, but you can be sure of desperate measures featuring Anachronia and Kerapak, and a City of Senntisten quest, delivering on expectations of what an of Senntisten quest would be like. You can probably guess some. Okay, let's chuck on some more. Let's leak some more. Let's announce some more. We don't want Archaeology to be launched and for us to not update it further, particularly as people approach the upper reaches of the skill. We also don't want to forget about Anachronia. So expect Orthan, a dig site on our charming land out of time focused on the top end of archaeology. You can expect to reveal some lost knowledge about the art of ancient potion making here, which will contribute further to Herblore to 120. We're also very aware that recently we haven't been giving you content at the rate that you would like. So to address this, the episodic content team are doing 3 things that we feel will go a long way, and we'll be talking about them more in the coming weeks. First, we're going to be expanding the team temporarily to take on a couple of updates that will allow us to get ahead of ourselves and add contingency if other updates change. So among other updates, this team will be working on a new pets project. In the same vein as combat and skilling pets, we'll be finishing the set with pets of ports, farm, minigames, clue scrolls, and more. And like we did with combat pets, we want to get you involved. So expect a competition to design the look of these pets in the next month. Go on, Presley, you can do it. The second thing we are doing to address the number of updates is to create and protect 2 sub-teams. We have one sub-team dedicated to making quests regularly, and another sub-team... And we have another sub-team dedicated to working on remasters to content that you love, reworking existing stuff that is in the game. The teams will begin to spin up in the coming months, but we can state that the quest team will be working on an Azanadra quest after Desperate Measures. And the remastery sub-team will be kicking off with a remaster of Managing Miscellanea, making it worth doing, adding further ways to improve your kingdom, and more. And thirdly, we have a game jam kicking off on the 9th of October, where we're all aiming to make stuff you want over a 2-week period. Okay. We're approaching the end, but before we go, there is the small matter of RuneScape Mobile. If you were part of the members beta, you'll know that we launched a fantastic new build for mobile last month. And if you weren't part of the members beta, we'd like to announce that later this year, any member with an Android phone will be able to play it without restriction. That's right, we can announce RuneScape Mobile Early Access for everyone will be coming very soon. And those of you on iOS can expect to play it later next year. Okay, there you have it. Let's bring on Mod Timbo, Mod Mark, Mod Orion, and Mod Raven. Please do give them all a round of applause. We have several JMods waiting on the sofa for us all to flip and finish, so they can talk about these updates, while a few of us will be pegging it to the panel room very fast for the RuneScape Keynote Q&A. You might also catch us a little worse for wear later on today, willing to reveal details at the after-show party. Also, I'd like to take a moment for the PvP art battle. The best time of the day was 1:08:15. Third place is XJMod. Second place is Silver Squad. First place was Mates Rates. If you're in those groups, please go to the art hall now to collect your rewards. Okay, but while this may seem like an ending from all of us, it's by no means the end. We've got something rather special. A tech showcase hosted by Mod Pips. I really, really think you'll like this one. Everybody, please give him a hand.
Thank you, guys. I wanted to hijack the last part of this year's RuneScape reveals to share with you some developments in RuneScape's game technology. In recent months, we formed a new group within the RuneScape development team. They're called Core Experience, and they are focused on improving the look of the game and especially the feel of the gameplay. Now, their main project at the moment is RuneScape Mobile, but they've been exploring a bunch of things that we think can improve the game for all players on all platforms. Now, as a byproduct of RuneScape Mobile, as a byproduct of the NXT client being the basis for RuneScape Mobile, the optimizations we need to perform to run on all these different mobile devices, those improvements go into the core client. So let's watch an example of that. This is game load up before and after those optimizations. You can see there's a really big difference. And if you look closely, you'll see that these are captured on mobile devices, but these optimizations are going to be coming into the PC build very soon. Now, loading speed is just one aspect of the optimizations that we've been doing. In fact, we're pretty happy with how the NXT client has matured by now. And what we want to do now is really push it forward and advance it with new features. So at the development team, we've been very lucky to just receive a new material rendering system. This allows our graphics teams to do 3D art with more detail and more depth, and it allows us to do more with surfaces and lighting. So as you can see here, there's some new metal effects. We think this is going to be really cool for weapons and armor in the game. And we've also seen a selection of items from the general game world that are going through an upgrade to use this system as well. Next, let's see how we're using some visual effects to improve the game's usability. This is an effect where the tree canopies are faded out if they block the view of your player character. We think this makes running around forests more convenient and means you don't have to manipulate the camera as you're moving around as much. Next, let's look at a variation on this theme, which is as your character view is blocked by scenery, you can see the silhouette, so you always know where you are, even in a really densely populated area. It also means you can turn roofs back on. This tech in the next video also shows that we're experimenting with different types of character highlights. So what we're trying here is, as you put your mouse over different objects or characters, they kind of indicate what your click will do. So if it's green, it's friendly, like talking to an NPC. Then obviously red is dangerous, combat for monsters, and blue, more utility things like picking up objects. We think this will help new players as they're learning the game, but when we've been trying it, we've also found that it's great if you play with a really zoomed out camera, or also if you're playing with a small screen. Next, we've also been looking at ways to improve the feel of the game, especially your movement around the game world. This is a prototype with improved pathfinding. It has the player's movement being smoothed out. It's quite subtle, so in the next video, we're going to look closer. This is the game as it is now, before these changes. You can see the player character moving around corners. The motion can be a bit jagged, the turns a bit sharp. It's what we've all got used to. So if we have the version with smoothing on, you'll be able to see the turning is more gentle, more fluid. It looks more natural. It makes the game feel just that little bit more immersive. Now, for the final 2 tech prototypes, I need to put a warning up first. These are going to be very early experimental prototypes. Unlike the great content we saw earlier in the keynote, for these, not only do we not have release dates, we do not know if they will ever have release dates. Okay, so just bear that in mind. But with that said, you've told us one of the biggest things we can do to improve gameplay is to make it a lot more responsive. So we are taking up that challenge. We are exploring ways to eliminate lag from RuneScape. So this prototype here, the instant you click on the ground, your character starts to move. There is no delay. There's no waiting for a message to go from your game client to the server and back. And that's because this system is predicting your path, moving you instantly, and the server and client synchronizing as they go. Now, if you look at the debug on the screen, you can see these green boxes. The one that's under the player character represents where the client has your position. The one that's trailing is where the server says you are. And the gap between these 2 green boxes represents the lag that comes from your internet connection and the speed of the game server tick. And that is the gap that systems like this are aiming to close. So the last prototype is arguably our quest for the Holy Grail, a faster server tick rate. This, as you're saying here, is the game as it is now, server tick running at 600 milliseconds. And this means that sometimes there's a slight delay between your input and then the action in the game. So if we move to see the prototype, we have added a second, faster server tick system. It's actually 6 times faster. You can see the debug graphics representing that. What we've done in this prototype is port the core combat code to run in this faster system. It means your actions are much quicker and they're more consistent. And potentially, this sort of system could mean we could make responsiveness improvements across many actions in the game. Now, thank you. We are incredibly excited about these things, on the one hand, but on the other, as we've said, as that warning, what we're showing you here in these prototypes is the 1% of the game we've got working, and not the 99% that these experiments break. But really, the important thing we're trying to share with you is our ambition for RuneScape and its game technology. We're now really having a crack at these challenges. We are exploring ways to make RuneScape's core experience look better, feel smoother, and be much more responsive. This is just a taste of the things in our minds for the future of RuneScape's game technology, and I think they also represent the things that are now possible when we're really focusing on the NXT game client and advancing it with new features. Okay, that brings us to the end of the RuneScape Reveals keynote. Thank you so much for joining us. We are incredibly excited for RuneScape's future, and we will see you there. Thank you.